All right, if you're interviewing for a dean or an assistant principal role, you know there's one question that can really make or break it. In this explainer, we're going to build the perfect playbook to help you nail that answer and show them you are absolutely ready to lead.
And there it is, the question that makes everyone sweat a little bit. It sounds simple on the surface, doesn't it? But this question is specifically designed to see right through you. Your answer reveals way more than just a hypothetical plan. It's a direct reflection of your entire leadership style.
And that's the key, right? A great answer isn't just about tactics, it's a window into how you lead. It tells the interview panel whether you build trust and capability or if you create dependency. So together, we're going to build a playbook to make sure your answer sounds strategic, confident, and most importantly, authentic. So every great strategy begins with knowing what not to do. The first part of our playbook is all about the most common traps that even well-meaning leaders fall into when they're dealing with conflict between adults. Let's break them down so you can avoid them.
First up is the over-intervention trap. You know the feeling, right? You hear about a disagreement and your first instinct is to jump in and fix it. But here's the problem. The source material tells this fantastic story about two teachers who had a pretty sharp exchange. The principal, wisely, decided to wait and see. And you know what happened? Within a day, they'd worked it out themselves. When we leaders jump in too fast, we actually rob our teams of the chance to solve their own problems.
Now this, right here, this is a golden line you can put right in your back pocket for an interview. Saying something like this shows you trust your teachers. It shows that you see them as capable professionals, and that your goal isn't to create a culture where everyone runs to your office for every little thing.
Of course, the opposite is just as bad. You can't just ignore problems and hope they go away. A great leader has to walk this delicate balance beam between jumping in too much and complete avoidance. I mean, if you let real hostility or bullying fester, you're failing your team. The real skill is finding that sweet spot between restraint and responsibility.
And this brings us to a huge concept, the hero syndrome. This is that ego-driven urge to be the savior, the one who swoops in and makes everything okay. It's a really common trap, especially for new leaders who are trying to prove themselves. But remember, the goal isn't to show off how great you are at mediating, it's to help the team, the whole school, move forward.
I love this quote because it highlights a massive mindset shift. It's not about you, it's about the health of the entire system. This reframes your role from being the fixer to being a facilitator, which is way more powerful and sustainable in the long run. Okay, let's quickly cover two final traps. First, you have to avoid creating a tattletale culture. That's where adults run to you with every complaint instead of talking to each other first. And second, you can never, ever take a side. The source mentions a principal who had old loyalties, and even the perception of favoritism was enough to poison the trust across the entire staff.
Okay, so we know what to avoid. Now let's get to the good stuff, the proactive, positive approach. You know, the best way to handle conflict is to stop it from becoming destructive in the first place. And that means you have to be intentional about building a conflict-ready culture. This, right here, is where the real work of leadership happens.
So how do you actually do that? Well, this slide lays out 6 key strategies. Modeling calm is huge. Everyone's watching you. You have to set the clear expectation that professionals talk directly to each other. And maybe one of the most important things is flat out refusing to engage with gossip and always bringing the conversation back to your shared mission, the students. It keeps everyone grounded.
You know, this simple change in language is unbelievably powerful. Think about it. When someone says yes, but, it just shuts the conversation down. It feels like a rejection. But yes, and? That's collaborative. It says, I hear what you're saying, and let's build on that. It's a tiny shift that can completely change the climate of your school.
Building a great culture is job number 1, but let's be real. Conflict is human. It's going to happen, and sometimes you absolutely have to step in. But when you do, it has to be done with real skill and a lot of preparation. This is the art of intervention.
A rushed, poorly planned meeting can make things so much worse. The source gives this perfect example of a principal who called a meeting based on some rumors. Well, he was totally caught off guard when one of the teachers brought a union rep. He was unprepared, the meeting blew up, and the conflict got worse. Preparation is everything.
When you do intervene, you have to go in with the right mindset. Think of this slide as your guide. It's not about picking a winner. It's about correcting behavior with dignity. A huge one here is distinguishing an explanation, which gives context, from an excuse, which avoids accountability. And yeah, you lead with compassion, but you also have to be ready to draw a hard line when behavior is just unprofessional.
Sometimes a conflict is just too heavy for a simple meeting to fix. The source tells this really powerful story about a teacher who passed away, and a colleague later married her widower. The emotional fallout for the staff was just immense. A sit-down wasn't going to solve that. The real solution was structural and humane, a transfer option to give people space. It just goes to show that the best leaders know some problems need bigger, more creative solutions.
Okay, I know that was a lot to take in. So how in the world are you supposed to remember all this in a high-pressure interview? Well, we've boiled it all down into a simple, memorable framework you can keep in your back pocket. Let's take a look at the RESOLVE framework. Let's walk right through it. R, resist overreaction. That's avoiding the hero syndrome. E, expect professionalism, which means creating that culture of direct communication. S, stay neutral, no taking sides, not even accidentally. O, open collaboration, using language like yes and. L, lead with dignity, which is so key when you have to correct someone. V, verify and prepare so you don't walk into a disaster meeting. And finally, E, escalate when you absolutely have to. See, this framework ties our whole playbook together.
Okay, this is it. We've looked at the traps, the culture-building strategies, and the art of intervention. Now let's put it all together into a polished, confident answer that's going to knock their socks off.
Let's break down why this answer is so good. It starts by emphasizing proactive culture building. That shows you'd rather prevent fires than just put them out. Then it lays out a clear, responsible plan for when you do have to intervene. Prepare, stay neutral, act with dignity. And finally, it brings everything back to the core mission of the school. An answer structured like this shows you have a complete and really thoughtful vision for leadership.
So now you have the playbook. This interview question was never really just about handling a fight. It's about your vision. It's about your philosophy. So the real question is, what kind of culture will you choose to build?